In this video, I want to show you how you can use and leverage all of the instrument, tool, and articulation variations available within the Orchestral Percussion expansion library. Now, I have a custom groove that I've created using various layers of the Orchestral Percussion MIDI that comes with the expansion library. And if you want any insight on how you can do that and how to create custom grooves, be sure to check out the Mixing MIDI Grooves to Create Orchestral Layers how-to video on Toontrack's website. Now we're in the default mix, and the only adjustments I've made is to actually turn down the taikos a little bit, which we're using in this groove, but I just want to bring them down so we can hear the bass and snare a bit more. Now, without changing any drums or tool selections, we can change the sound by using different articulations. By going into the grid editor, I could open up the bass drum and snare drum. You can see that we have different articulations, and I could move the center articulation down to the edge of the snare and mute it on the bass drum. But to quickly simulate this, I will just select a bass drum, go to the articulations. I'm going to turn off the center articulation, which means the next available articulation is muted. So it will use that instead. And on the snare drum, I'll do the same thing, turn off the center, and so it will use the edge instead. And for this example, let's actually solo the snare and the bass drum so we can really hear that difference. And here's what it was. Now let's keep these soloed, and let's change the instrument, sticks. Let's actually go to the Ludwig Black Beauty. We'll change the instrument, and we're changing the tool set. We're using it with snares off. For the bass drum, let's actually go to a hard beater. Keep in mind we have the same center and muted or center and edge articulation options. And we're going to turn the snare up just a little bit in this example to match the bass drum. Center articulation turned off. For the bass drum, now let's go to a soft beater. So we have a really different sound now. Let's add back that center articulation. On the snare drum, let's use felt mallets, same drum, Ludwig Black Beauty. And again, make sure we add back that center articulation. Turn down the bass drum just a little bit on the fly there, so you can kind of hear both instruments. Again, without the center articulation, quick change. So muted on the bass drum, edge on the snare. And finally, let's go to brushes with the DW, turn back on the center articulation. And let's try something different here. We'll do the stick tool set on the bass drum, turn back center. So they're actually using just a stick rather than a mallet on the bass drum. And we'll turn back down the snare because the stick articulation is pretty soft compared to the mallets. And again, without the center articulation. So those are a few examples of how you can quickly leverage the different instrument, tool sets, and articulation options within the Orchestral Percussion library.